What's up, my guys? Welcome to another show, man. It's NBA Talk with Jay and the Shark. We here. It's what Thursday, man. We trying to Wednesday, no Thursday here. We try. I forgot what day it is, man. We're trying to get some cash here. Obviously, talking some NBA picks, man. Couldn't do a show yesterday. Got some other shit going on here, but we here trying to do. We powered through it. What's up with you, Shark? Everything cool with you, my guy?
Absolutely taking a breath. We apologize. No intro today. We're going full business mode here on a subtly not so casual Thirsty Thursday, January the 12th. It is. Jay Money traveling the globe, working his ass off. We appreciate him immensely. And a 6-game card today. A lot to discuss. A lot of angles in these games. We were just saying the league's tightening up a little bit. The ebbs and flows of the market of professional basketball. But let's get in there and let's dominate.
Yes, sir. Let's get into it, my guy. First game up, we're going over here to the streets of Philadelphia here, guys. We got the 76ers land 10 points at the house versus the Oklahoma City Thunder here. It was a crazy game the other day, right, Sharp? The Thunder ended up losing that game by 1, but they still covered a 2-point spread. And that one, now they go on the road here versus Philadelphia. Philadelphia really hot right now, right? They got Embiid back. They're balling. The Thunder just got smoked by this team as well. I believe they were down 25 points in the first half. That was with Philly on the road without Joel Embiid. Guys hardening, they're starting to get hot here, Char. This is the last game, though, before they head on a 5-game road trip. Shark, do you think that comes into play here? Sixers land double digits, or they just continue to mow teams down?
It's a good question. It's a good question. I was just looking at my notes here, and I had this written down. Jay, you said it. I'll say it again. This is the last game before they go on a week-long, more than a week, I believe, Western trip. And they haven't played a lot of Western road games, but what have they played? A lot of Western home games. Philadelphia is actually 8-1 home ATS against the West. One of those games was real tight in the number, depending on what number you got against Minnesota, but 3.5 did cover for Philly at plus. They are 5-0 last 5 ATS home against the West. I have written down here, and I think this is very important. One distinct non-cover, their only non-cover of the year against the West was a -13 against the Spurs. And if you're going to correlate any of these environments to a 10 line against the Thunder, Spurs, Thunder, big line, it's very similar stuff. You get a revenge game. You get a lot of stuff going on here with Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City coming off of these games that they cover at the Southeast. The last two, it was Washington and it was Atlanta. They went to Memphis in the next game. Both times. I don't know if we can cross-reference what they do at Memphis with at Philadelphia. If you go back to last year, very interesting stuff. Books pretty much nailed the line in Philadelphia. Philadelphia was laying uncannily 14 points at home last year. They won the game 100-87 and didn't cover by 1 point. 1-1 final point in this game. We're looking at the schedule here for Philadelphia. The last time Philadelphia blew out Detroit at home, it was in recent history. They had played Detroit 3 times in the last 3 weeks. They hammered Detroit at home, and then they came back against the Clippers, a Western opponent, and they came out very flat in the first half and did backdoor the spread. I do think Oklahoma City could come out here and catch them napping early, given how scorching hot they were in the last game again against the Pistons. 2 blowouts in a row. You get a revenge game. The line is very, very tight on the game. I do lean towards the Thunder, as Jay suggested. I'm looking at early for Oklahoma City. Not sure if I'm going to get there on this one, though.
Yeah, you make some good points here. Yeah, it's a funky type of game for me. I know when I see that the Sixers head out on the road for a 5-game West Coast trip, you always get that little look ahead element, right? I always say kiss your wives and babies goodbye because they're probably flying out right after, really right after the game. So I think it's a really tough spot for me to lay double digits with the Sixers here. Obviously, the Thunder can be a scrappy team, and also it's very obvious that they don't really have anyone that can guard Joel Embiid over there, right? On the they don't really have any bigs, but the perimeter players are really good for OKC. We know that they just lost a game that they probably should have won. I'm sure Jalen Williams feels some type of way missing those couple of late free throws in that one, man. But yeah, the Thunder are a scrappy team, guys. I'm not betting against them here, but would I be surprised if the Sixers smoked them? I wouldn't be, but I couldn't talk Shark off that Thunder in the first half. If you overlook this Thunder team, guys, they can be a thorn in your ass, my guys. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if some thunderstorms made their way up there to the streets of Philly here. Let's go ahead and get to the next game, man. Let's go to the streets of Brooklyn here, guys. We have the Nets here getting 3 points at the house versus the Boston Celtics. We know that Smart and Williams should be back in here today, guys. So if you're waiting on confirmation for them on the Celtics, you probably want to go ahead and play them now. Marcus Smart and Robert Williams will be back for this game, and the line may move up a tad bit when they're announced in. What do you think about this one, Shark? The Nets obviously they came now. This is a different Nets team, guys. In the past 5 games, they've faced the Celtics, right? They got swept last year's in the playoffs, and they lost the first meeting of this year as well. But that was with Steve Nash. I'm pretty sure, right, Shark? So how are we looking at this game? Nets lost 5 straight to the Celtics. Celtics on third game in 4 nights, plus a back-to-back with travel. But Nets 3 days off, if I'm not mistaken here. I looked at these games kind of loosely, but I mean, I know how to look at games, Shark. I'm not sure if I'll be able to bet anything today, but I want to take the Nets here, Shark. We know Kevin Durant is out, but this is a team game here, and at least for a little while, at least for one game, you might be able to step up, or some other players might be able to step up while he's out. How you looking at this game, my brother?
Yeah, I'm just looking. The game that was played prior was at Barclays. It was December 4th. It was a Sunday afternoon, and Boston did get them 103-92. At that point, I think Nash may have been fired. I don't think they went on this winning streak with Nash, but I'm not sure. So we're not worried about that. Steve Nash is on a beach right now somewhere, I'm sure, in Costa Rica, having a great time. And we're here on a subtly not so casual Thursday. But you mentioned it. The Celtics have absolutely owned Brooklyn. Owned. They've won 8 straight. They swept them in the playoffs. And you remember those games last year in the playoffs. Brooklyn probably should have won game 1 in Boston. Jason Tatum walked it off with a late layup, but that really swayed the series. And I think if Brooklyn had stolen game 1, that would not have been a sweep, and that would have been a deep, deep series. Brooklyn just really lost their charisma after that particular game. And it's been absolute domination. It's been Ime Udoka. It has been Joe Mazzulla, and of course has been this roster. And you find Brooklyn in a really tough spot to cap, ultimately. When Kevin Durant gets hurt, we just all of a sudden are looking at a totally new unit. We haven't seen this unit play this year at all. The only game this year, I believe, that Kevin Durant has not played was a game at Indiana on a back-to-back on the road, a game that Brooklyn did cover. They were plus 8.5. They won the game outright, 136-133. But key point, Kyrie didn't play in that game. None of the starters played in that game. So that was a full-scale Ciroc on ice game. This is not. This is now a lineup that's going to be playing for probably the next month or foreseeable future to a certain degree without Kevin Durant. So we don't know how this unit is going to play. I think if we look at the number's telling us a Brooklyn story here. When Boston goes into your gym and beats you 103-92 on the same number with Kevin Durant playing, you remove Kevin Durant, and they only moved the lineup 1 point to open. I believe this opened at 4, and it's getting steamed down. And I think sharp minds are on Brooklyn here. I mean, Brooklyn needs this game. First of all, they need it for pride, charisma. They need it for the playoffs. They need it also one big point. They need it so they can believe they can beat this Boston team. You can't go to the playoffs this year if you've gotten beat 12 straight times. I mean, how are you going to get off that mental schneid? And They do play 3 times here in the next month, 2 in Boston coming up. But even more stuff going on in this game. Brooklyn has clustered a ton of road games. They've played 10 of their last 13 games on the road. They haven't played they've only played 3 home games since December 10th. Brooklyn is, as they turn the corner here, 11-1 straight up last 12 at home. They're a home juggernaut after being horrendous in the previous generation with Steve Nash. But again, key point, that only loss was to Boston, who just owns them. I went through Boston in their back-to-backs. They only have 2 home-road back-to-backs all year. Interesting stuff developing. They didn't cover a home game against Chicago, and then they went on the road and blew out the Knicks 133-118 on a short line. Similar corollary to, I think, what's going on here tonight. They played a game against Denver at home and blew them out and scored a lot of points, 131-112. The following night, they went to Detroit. They came out flat, and they did try to backdoor the spread, but did not cover by 1 point. It was a -9, and they won 117-108. But again, crucial point here. Blow out Denver, then go on the road. What happened last night? They put up a lot of points against New Orleans. So it's a Western opponent, a team they scored a lot of points against. The environment psychologically and on court is very, very similar. And now you go to Brooklyn without Kevin Durant. You're not going to say Brooklyn is Detroit, but without Kevin Durant, it's certainly less inspirational. Right. And I think the best look in this game is something with Brooklyn early. I think that this is contaminated to a degree, obviously, without Kevin Durant. We're not putting this officially on record, but I do think given that dynamic, Boston off the heat check last night, coming on the road, potentially scattered in their motivation. I think the Brooklyn new group could come out here with some life tonight in this uncanny 8x revenge game. So I think early probably best. Not on it yet. And if I go that direction, I'll post on Twitter this afternoon.
Yeah, I like the Nets here, guys. Like I said, I'm not even sure. I'm in a whole different state right now, guys. I'm not even sure that I'll be at Vegas, but I do like the Nets here. If I had a top play today, it would be the Nets here. Like I say, like you said, no Kevin Durant here, so the motivation is still going to be there. But when you've gotten owned by this team for so long, and I guarantee you, Jackie Vaughn's coming here saying, "All right, look, game planning for these guys the whole 3 days." Right? What I've been seeing some footage of, at least Simmons and Kyrie trying to get on the same page. Obviously, those are the two stars right there right now without Kevin Durant out there. So this could be a Nets game. This line is coming down. I think it's coming, like you said, Shar. I think some sharp people are looking towards the Nets here. And I'd like to call myself one of those people, man. I'm looking at the Nets here with significance. And remember, when top guys are out, at least for 1 or 2 games, somebody can step up, right? This team is really deep as well. Don't forget they got TJ Warren playing really nice as well off the bench. Claxton has been a really nice player as well. He's second in blocks this season, man. So watch out for Claxton over there. They might have them a center in the making, but I really like what Vaughn is doing with this team. They're playing defense, guys. This was always a team that focused on nothing but offense. They still have that offense, but they have some defenders like Royce O'Neal. I'm not the biggest believer in him offensive end, but when I'm seeing them, they're locking in on defensive end. All 5 guys, even guys like Kyrie, buying in on the defensive end. We know that Simmons, he can match up with anyone. He can match up with Tatum. He can match up with Jaylen Brown. Brown went off for 41 points last night as well, man. So you don't want to peak at the wrong time. You want to peak in this game. I don't like that, and they have the major rest advantage as well. Nets 3 days off at the house, practicing game planning for this huge game. I can only look towards the Nets here, Shark. I'd look to them early and often. I do think the Nets will get this win today, my guys. But like I said, it really makes no sense to play it before Marcus Smart and Robert Williams get ruled in. I could definitely see this line going back up to 4, might close at 4.5, to be honest with you. So this is one where you wait to the last minute. If you do like the Nets, you wait to the last minute. Obviously, guys, I mean, it's a lot of people in the chat. If you like the Celtics, you probably want to take that 3 now. I do think that 3 disappears when those 2 starters get ruled in here, guys. But I could only look towards the Brooklyn Nets in this game. Let's go over here to the streets of Toronto. Cheers, Char. We got the Raptors land 8 points at the house versus the Hornets. A little home and home. I believe they played the other day. I didn't get a chance to watch that game, but I believe it was a close game. Shark, how you looking at this one, my guy?
Yeah, it was. It was a 1-point game, middle of the 4th quarter, and Toronto really opened it up. And, we had said it the other night. We thought maybe Charlotte. Of course, it wasn't official, but I think Charlotte would be the lean tonight. And I think I'm not there yet. Again, we're just going through this in some detail.
Damn, Char. I just looking at it. Damn, it looked like they kept the game close, but they still didn't cover. They still ended up losing by 12 points.
Exactly, yeah. It was tied in the middle of the 4th quarter. Toronto shot 20 for 44 from 3-point range, 46%. That's over 10 percentage points higher than their season average. So just gives you a snapshot to how hot they were the other night and probably how unsustainable that was. But we talked about this the other night before. Of course, Charlotte did not cover that game. Charlotte was 6-2 ATS previous 8. Now they're 6-3 ATS last 9 on the road. And somebody had messaged me about this, and I said to the guy, whoever it was, and my God, you're the man for messaging me. Please DM me, guys, with questions. And I said, you can't really evaluate Charlotte before December 14th because obviously without LaMelo Ball, a lot of moving parts, a lot of injuries, they're starting to get their guys back. And this is why they're playing much better basketball. Toronto's hard to figure out. The only time this year Toronto did play back-to-back games against the same opponent, it was against Philadelphia early season. And the line did not tell you a story. Philadelphia was favored in the first one and lost. And then the line moved heavily towards Toronto in the second one, and Toronto lost. This is very similar. It was a Toronto line in game 1. Now it's a heavier Toronto line. But again, the last time this happened, Toronto lost the second one outright with emphasis, I might add, 112-90. I'm not entirely sure how much that applies. Of course, Philadelphia is not Charlotte, but we had talked about this early season. Toronto has had a tendency to split these back-to-back games with most of these teams. They split with Chicago. They split with one other team. The only one that they went back-to-back losses were 2 consecutive losses in Orlando and 2 non-covers. I am looking at Charlotte here. I don't love Charlotte, but I do think Jay, you talk about this all the time. A lot of times those bets you don't like, those are the ones you want to be taking in professional basketball.
Now that's facts right there, Shard. Them ugly plays, them the ones that nobody wants to take, no one's looking to take as well. Those are the ones that cash at a high rate, guys. So like I say, you feel some type of way, man, about it. You got that feeling. Most of the time, I just go with my gut, man, because it's like, hey, I might know more than, you know what I'm saying? We might know more than the average people here, Shark. So, but yeah, I could talk. Obviously, it's the same revenge spot in the same gym as well. If they played them close to last game and you said the Raptors basically shot crazy from three, that's not the Raptors, in my opinion, man. But there was probably a little bit more on the Hornets defense. Well, obviously, you'll probably bring in here a little tighter defensive effort. Yeah, I can only look towards the Hornets here in the revenge spot. I thought that they covered that other game, Shark, but ended up losing it by 12. You were right there. And I may have seen some footage saying OG Anunoby telling Tyrese Halliburton to trade for him. It could be nothing, but that's what it likes. He said, I don't know, man. Someone going up there. I think OG Anunoby told Halliburton, you guys can look it up on Twitter. There's a video circulating them after the game. He said I can read lips pretty good. Looks like he said trade for me. And I mean, hell, that Pacers team would be crazy with OG Anunoby over there as well. I mean, they'd be a playoff team for sure. What do you think about this, Short?
Well, I think it's interesting because this 3-point shootout that developed in the last game a lot of it was OG Anunoby. He shot 6 for 7 from 3-point range.
Damn.
So if he wants to go to the Pacers, he put out a great showcase on the court the other night. And, I do think, staying on this game for just a half second, Charlotte actually shot far better than their season percentage from three in the last game as well. Charlotte only shoots in the low 30s from a percentage perspective from three this season. Charlotte actually shot 43% from three in that game too. And I think a really interesting point here, the line in the last game was 229.5, and these teams both shot crazy hot, but books are moving the line up to 232. So I think they're telling you kind of what I was saying before, that this is the Charlotte we knew from last year. This is a run and gun team. This is a good offensive team. And this is actually a good shooting team. LaMelo Ball is an average shooter. Terry Rozier is a very good shooter. PJ Washington is a good shooter. Kelly Oubre is an inconsistent but above average shooter. This team can really shoot the basketball. And I think, again, throw out everything before 12-14. I think you might see another track meet here tonight. Run and gun, good shooting percentage. And I think you might see a little bit of a tighter game. So I would lean towards a similar game as last time, 132-120. But I think Charlotte will keep it tighter than not tonight.
Yeah, I can see it, my guy. I could definitely see that one. And like you say, the books moving it up. Could definitely see another over spot here, guys. Let's get over here to the game of the day, man. We got the Miami Heat here laying 4 points. Open up at 2.5. I believe this one opened up at 1 last night. If you really could have got the openers, you paying attention. Opened up at 1 at a few books, then went up to 2.5 this morning with some speculation. Maybe some Bucks guys sit here. It's up to 4 now with Grayson Allen being ruled out. You may see even more guys here, Shar. It's kind of crazy. We kind of forecasted this one the other day, covered with the Thunder. And then we said we like the Heat versus the Bucks. Bucks here on a back-to-back. They got their double revenge versus the Hawks last night. We know that this team is not great on the road. They even almost pissed that one away last night with no Trae Young. Could only look towards the Heat here, Shark. What are we doing? You like the Heat here?
I do. On a suddenly not so casual Thursday, January 12th, 2023. The buy hat is not here, but it is in essence around me. And, a lot going on in this game. Nets bets in the chat. What's going on, brother? Good vibes to the Nets without Kevin Durant. And, staying on this game, there's a lot going on here. But as you mentioned it, this is actually the first road back-to-back of the year for Milwaukee. And I went through this. Milwaukee is actually 4-0 ATS on the second leg of a back-to-back. Some of those were 3rd and 4 ultra fatigue spots. However, none of them were back-to-backs on the road. So this is a unique one-off environment. And when a team is running a clean sheet 4-0 on the fatigue brutal spot, that should reverse. And it should reverse in this unique one-off environment, road. And those covers in those 4 games were against a lackluster Atlanta team, Oklahoma City, who laid down completely to the Milwaukee backups in double overtime, a really useless Charlotte team before this rebirth, December 14th, and a Toronto team in recent history, as we saw last week, who went to overtime after getting down 25 points and making, I believe, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, comebacks in NBA history at that point in time, if they had gotten over the hump in a small window in like 3 minutes or whatever it was. So again, those opponent types are not the Miami Heat. They're not a Miami Heat team that's showing wind at home against Eastern opponents, and also a Miami Heat team that has lost 3 consecutive ball games to the Milwaukee Bucks. And if you go through last year, the home team was 4-0 straight up in this environment. Milwaukee, we discussed this before we tried to fade Milwaukee at New York. And of course, again, you can't be results oriented. Yes, Milwaukee did cover at New York, but Milwaukee over the course of that game run 100 times is not going to cover more than 50% of those games at the Knicks. So it's the right cap. Don't be results oriented, be strategy oriented. So we've had this whole thing correct. It was a fade at the Knicks. It was a buy at Atlanta. Now, 3rd and 4 road back to back. It's definitely a buy at Miami. And one final point, Milwaukee was very cold for a while. They got hammered at Cleveland. They got hammered at the Nets. They got hammered at Boston on Christmas Day. They've now covered 3 consecutive games at the East, but you really have to look at how much energy they've exerted in those games. The game at Toronto, as we mentioned, they were way up. They blew it, had to go to overtime. The game against the Knicks, they're down 17 points in the 3rd quarter. Knicks give it all the way back, and Milwaukee gets there. Last night, Milwaukee goes up 20 in the 1st quarter, gives the lead all the way back, and then has to win the game again, 13-2 run to close. So they're 3-0 ATS last 3 in a row, but they've had to completely overexert themselves in every single game emotionally throughout the game. You come in here, you're in Florida. It's an absolute dead zone spot. And one final point, the line is all over Miami here. In the most recent matchup, Milwaukee was laying 4.5 points at home. They did not cover 120-119. This comes all the way across to -1. I'm on 2.5 on Twitter overnight. We're dropping it here now. Heat -4. Guys might sit. This might get up to 7. I think you're looking at the Heat here with significance tonight.
Yeah, you make some good points here, man. It's injuries based on both sides, but so as far right now, we only know that Grayson Allen's out. I wouldn't be surprised if they rested some more guys here, guys. To be honest, I don't like the spot here for the Bucks. I could only look towards the Heat. It's kind of gotten too high for me. Anyway, obviously, if I was in my state, I could have hopped on this shit last night, -1, but it's all good, man. Got to take care of some more important shit. But yeah, Heat up to 4 now, guys. Still couldn't talk you off. I would lean Heat. It's too high for me, but Heat could really win this game by double digits. Wouldn't be a bit surprised if the Bucks ran out of gas here, guys, on this back-to-back. And they basically ran out of gas last night in Atlanta as well. So, and we talked about this one a couple days ago. I could only look towards the Heat here. Obviously, they always have some up against the Bucks. Wish the Heat were a little bit more healthy here, but that's the only way that I can look, my guys. I'm not looking towards buying the Bucks here on the road, man. A couple more games here, guys. Let's go over here to the streets of LA here, man. We're going from coast to coast. You see what I'm saying? Cross country. We got the Lakers here getting 3 points at the house versus the Mavs, Shark. A rematch of Christmas Day games, right? Where the Mavs, they scored 51 points in the 3rd quarter versus the Lakers there. I remember we were talking off here. You thinking that this one might have reversed here? You think the Mavs might come out here with some early, especially coming off that loss versus the Clippers? How you looking at this game?
Yeah, I do. And I'm going to go through this in slightly more detail and finalize over the course of the afternoon. But I do think when you look at how Dallas came out in the previous game against the Clippers, I mean, they got absolutely hammered. They were down double digits very quickly in that game. It usually sometimes reverses in the 2nd quarter. It did not. Clippers 38-22 2nd quarter. The game was basically over at halftime. And now they get to sit around LA for 2 nights thinking about it. And they get to come in here against the Lakers, who are coming in here off a road trip in a lackluster effort at Denver, which we had correctly 1st quarter and 1st half going back to the previous game. And I think, again, going through historical basketball, you guys know this, having watched us on this show for over 2 years now, one of the best fade spots in the sport for any team is to fade a team early when they come off a road trip in the 1st game in their home gym. And again, that's just sustainable stuff across the league. And then you get the double down effect of Dallas really coming out horribly in the previous game at the Clippers. And one point that's a little bit anecdotal and a little bit abstract, but I don't think totally inapplicable here. When you look at what Boston did recently at the Clippers and then at the Lakers, they got hammered early against the Clippers and really were not in the game the whole time. They sat around and thought about it in LA for 2 nights, came back against the Lakers, scorching hot. Again, Dallas is not Boston, but it's the same environment, and it's exactly what the Clippers did against Boston. And it also speaks to what the Clippers are as a franchise and a defensive unit, and what the Lakers are as a franchise and a defensive unit. So they come off that. This should be open early. I'm looking at Dallas here early with significance. In terms of the game, this is really tough stuff too, We've talked about this again and again and again. The scheduling in the league, for whatever reason this year, is way more clustered than in previous campaigns. Teams just are playing a ton of road games, and then they're going to play a ton of home games later. I was looking at the calendar last night. The Lakers close in March and April with like 75% home games. And you go back through the previous calendar point here, the Lakers have played 18 of their last 26 games on the road. They played 9 out of their last 12. They've been on the road pretty much for a month straight. And Dallas comes in here 1-6 last 7 ATS on the road. I think the game line is going to be really tight. One final point, Jay, and I'll throw it right back. As you mentioned, the previous game on Christmas Day, Dallas did outscore them 51-21 in the third quarter. Dallas was very lackluster prior, but 3 out of the last 4 games were right on the number. Go back to last year, Lakers at Dallas, they laid 3 points and they pushed 107-104. Dallas at LA last year, I had it correct. I remember I was sweating bullets. Dallas was laying -4.5. They won the game by 5 points, 109-104, a hook. And then most recently, the game on Christmas Day, Dallas was -7, 124-115. They won by 9. So 2, a hook, and a push. I think this -3 is razor sharp. This is one of those casino dice games. Don't bet this game. Go dice it up. But I do think in the first half, Dallas has extra incentive to come out here with some professionalism.
Yeah, what if I can't go to the casino and go play some dice here, Shark? But
Go on the street and throw some quarters.
Throw some dice with I can go to the hood and shoot some dice with my guys, man. Go South Dallas over there. But yeah, it's a tough game, man. Mavs lost 2 straight. Couple the day off. What, 2 days off in LA or just 1 day off, Shark? Yeah, just regardless here, man. Obviously, you always have only 1 day off. Only 1 day off. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Mavs came out here early. I do lean Mavs in this game. I do think the Lakers were really hyped. My guy in the chat saying LeBron 35 points away from 38,000. They could be huge, right? Because in a milestone game, I never like to bet against the team to like with their player, especially with the caliber of LeBron. I never like to bet against them in a milestone type of game, to be honest with you. So, but it could really flip here. They came out really good in there on the road. Lakers on the road. Christmas Day came out really hot, then melted in the second half. Could be the opposite here, where the Mavs come out here hot on the road and then possibly melt in the second half. I'm not even saying for sure. This is a tough game for me because I'll be honest, I'm really not sure what to do with Lakers games right now. They'll really play up. They'll really play down. Obviously, they came off 1 in 5 straight before basically a scheduled loss, losing versus Denver. They're resting LeBron in that one. So it's a tough game for me, Char, because like I said, I mean, you have to admit the Lakers are starting to play a whole lot better. Seem like they start to find their groove. Even all these young guys, like, I mean, they got Schroeder. I mean, when you got Kendrick Nunn coming in here knocking down threes and shit, it's like, what's going on with this Lakers team? So maybe they're really starting to buy into Darvin Ham's they really starting to buy into his system over there. They are playing defense. I could actually see this being the under type of game. We know that the Mavs, but the only thing is you can't take unders because the Lakers play such a blitzing pace. They are paying attention to defense heavily, but they really like to run and gun here. If I'm the Mavs, I'm saying, you know what? You're not going for 35 on me tonight, LeBron. I believe he went off on Christmas Day as well, if I'm not mistaken. LeBron shredded them on Christmas Day. So on the Mavs here, more of the Luka, you got to come in this game defensively saying we can't let LeBron beat us, make the rest of the team. It's a really interesting game to watch. I would lean Mavs early with you there, Shark, but I mean, I can't even play Mavs early. So I hope you guys cash, man. Whatever you're betting in this game, I hope you guys cash. It's a tough one for me. Last game up here, Shark. One more, man. We got the Cavs versus the Blazers here. Blazers getting 2.5 points at the house. Man, I got to try to do some deep dives, some digging, see what the hell is going on with this Blazers team. I know I don't want the Cavs here, though, Sharp. We don't want them. I know early this year they went on the West Coast trip. They kind of started to fade out as the trip went on. Obviously, they lost their game versus Utah. But do you think that they're auto? Do you think this is an auto bounce back here, or what's going on with the Blazers? Their second game home off the trip as well. I don't know I can't figure out the Blazers mentally.
I think you're telling yourself the story there. And I want to give our chat a shout here. One of the guys made a hilarious comment. He has his little son around the house saying, "Let's cash." I like it. We need a video of that. That's it's hilarious. We see Ronald Kabang in the chat. What's up, Ronald? What's up, OG Wham? What's up, my guy? And some of the legends in here. Mitch Armstrong is moving the line, apparently. He dropped a $500K bet on the over. My guy. Okay. And hit the like button, of course. We're sending you guys the best vibes through the screen. And we hope the Portland Trailblazers can find some good vibes tonight because they have been absolutely horrendous. Chauncey Billups was talking about the team's in a funk. And, you go back to the previous game. As we said, with the Lakers coming back here tonight off a road trip, that was home game 1 for Portland off a 3-game Eastern tour. So theoretically, they were supposed to come out flat. But I was saying to the Philly Sharp in private conversation during that game, I really lost a little bit of, I wouldn't say respect, but I lost a little bit of, I don't know, respect is not the right word because that's more of like a personal thing. But in terms of his coaching ability, maybe I did lose some respect to Chauncey Billups because in the first quarter, Orlando was so scorching hot. You know, Popovich for years has made a living calling a quick timeout, just sensing it's about to go off the chain because Orlando was shooting like 90% from the field. They got up 20 points. Like you gotta cut that. And I said to Philly, and I was like, he's letting this game get out of hand. And you can't do that. And also, not only that, during that game, when Portland comes all the way back to tie it at half after being down 19, how do you not go into the locker room and say to your guys, like, we got them now. You got to come out in the third quarter and step on their throat. The Magic came back out with a 15-0 run to start the third quarter. That's coaching.
15-0?
They were up. They were up 19. Jay, they were up 19 points in the first quarter and gave it all back, tied at the half. Portland has all the momentum. Orlando's on a 3rd and 4 road back-to-back. They just gave their entire energy in the first half. And then Portland comes back out in the third quarter and gives up a 15-0 run to start the third quarter. That cannot happen. That cannot happen. And that's on the coach. The coach has to say, guys, this team's fatigued. They're traveling. They gave us their best shot early. Let's put them away in the third. You don't come out and give up a 15-0 run against. Ridiculous. That's on the coach. And Billups, I don't know what's going on, man. And he came out after the game and said this team's in a funk. They have lost, I believe, 4 in a row. This is not good. But, again, this is where you want to start buying teams. Portland hasn't played back-to-back home games since December 4th and 8th. And what did we say the other night when we took the Clippers? We said the exact same thing. The Clippers hadn't played back-to-back home games in a month. And getting a second home game is very, very important because it becomes an actual home game. When you're traveling and you get a home game one-off, it's basically part of a road trip. You're just stopping in your gym and going right back out. So this is the first time they're going to get comfortable. And I think you mentioned it. Cleveland is fading away on the road. Cleveland is flip-flopping on this road trip, but I think this is a dead zone spot for Cleveland. I think also particularly early, Portland has a very good access point here. If you really start to go through this road trip, Cleveland did cover the first quarter at Denver. We had talked about this on the show last week. Denver was on a back-to-back off a big first quarter effort the previous night. Cleveland was without Donovan Mitchell. We suggested Cleveland would come out there well. They did. Then they came out well at Phoenix. Everybody knows how disrupted Phoenix is. And then in the previous game, they came out flat at Utah. And I think Utah and Portland are very similar here for one reason. Cleveland hammered both of them at home. Cleveland had beaten Utah by 23 at home, won on the road on a short line and lost and came out flat. This is the same thing. Cleveland did hammer Portland at home, 114-96. Same type of gap. They come in here on a short line. This is a Portland spot 100%. I'm not officially out of yet. I'm just trying to figure out if I want to go first quarter, full game, or both.
Yeah, the Blazers could bounce back here. You made some good points. When they're back at the house, this team does play a lot better at the house. Obviously, first game off a road trip is always tough as well. I believe the Blazers never, even though it's a 3-game road trip, they never really seen. I feel like it went back a lot further than that as well. They don't like coming home off a road trip. But second game, I'd worry about Dame. He still seems to really start. I mean, we know, I kind of was saying this a couple years ago. I'm not sure if he really fits with Billups. Now, it's kind of crazy. They were the number 1 seed in the West earlier this year, man. That's why it just really boggles my mind, man. What the hell is going on over there? You're number 1 seed. Now you're basically dropping out of the playoff picture. Obviously, the season's not over, but I just feel like you can't drop that heavy, right? You can't drop all the way out. So, I can only look at Blazer. You got the revenge. They're at the house. We know that this team is good. We know that Simons and Dame can go off for 35, 40 any night. They just have to put together 4 quarters. And that's all they've been talking about as well. So maybe it is a little bit better to focus in on the Blazers on a quarter or a half and not try to take them the full game because they haven't been able to put together 4 total quarters, like you said in that second quarter there. They won the second quarter, but then you can't come out in the second half. So it's like it's an unsustainable thing over 4 quarters. That's the main thing that's really frustrating Dame right now. He doesn't want to throw away his somewhat prime years. I guess you could kind of say like Dame is still in his prime, but mentally right now he is starting to get frustrated. But maybe that first quarter could be the top play there for the Blazers in that one. Shark could not talk you off, man. But hey, we broke down all the NBA games, man. 34 minutes live, man. Let's get to some free picks, Shark. What you liking on tonight's card, my brother?
Absolutely. One top play, 9 words of lifestyle. Ride the wave or get out of the water. Miami 2.5 overnight, 4 now officially. And we think this could get even higher. I think as I mentioned before, this is the first time that Milwaukee has played a specific road back-to-back all year. 3rd and 4 fatigue spot off 3 consecutive covers at the East. All grueling covers. Miami in a revenge game. Miami coming up, top spot on the board. And we are looking with significance at Dallas early and Portland early. We'll finalize that on Twitter this afternoon. 35 minutes in the books. Jay Money, a pleasure as always. Close them out and let's dominate.
It's always a pleasure, my guys, man. Obviously, I got some other shit going on, but if I could play some today, I would definitely be looking towards the Nets plus the 3 full game with significance, guys. I know that we know that Kevin Durant is out, but at least for one game, at least for the first game without the star player, maybe the rest of the guys can come together, bring together some guys. Remember, this is not a one-person game. It's not boxing. This is a team game, and you have to win as a team as well and play defense as a team. But like I said, that line will probably come up when Marcus Smart and Robert Williams get ruled in. If you like Celtics, bet them now. If you like the Nets, wait for those guys to get ruled in. But I do think the Nets win this game, and I also lean the Heat as well. We talked about this one the other day. I could only look towards the Heat in this game. It's probably going to get even higher than this. Keep an eye on the injury report. Wouldn't be surprised if a Giannis or Drew Holiday did sit in this one, guys. But they already out with Grayson Allen. In regards to that, would lean to the Heat in that one. Heat and Nets would what I would be looking at today, my guys. But like I said, I'd have to go search and find somewhere where I can try to go get a bit. Maybe Shark put some money on the games for you, man. But if you like a shirt, man, go use promo code We Will Win over there at the website, man. JMoneyIsMoney.com. We got the Jay and Shark shirts on there, $15, man. Use that promo code if you can. Show some support to the channel. We appreciate you guys. We try to do as many shows for you guys as possible, guys. If you like the show, hit the like button, subscribe, retweet it as well on Twitter, guys. We will be back tomorrow. Let's get this cash, guys. We out.